Hello, it is day one of 626 Night Market here in Arcadia, and it is the last one of the entire year. I have some high hopes, even though I feel like my expectations at this point should really be very, very low, especially the past 2 weekends have not been so great. It is 4:33 and it's been about 30 minutes since the event started. If you've watched my other night market vlogs, you know that it doesn't really get busy until later on in the evening, probably around 7 p.m. At least now it's a little bit overcast. However, earlier today, as in a few hours ago, it was really hot. It currently is in the mid to high 90s. Today, tomorrow, and Sunday. Super great for me. I feel like every vlog I'm complaining, and understandably, when you're in the comfort of your own home, I feel like it does come across as annoying. But at least in the moment, it's very hot. I don't really like the hot weather, and now I learned, at least for next year, maybe I won't do as many night markets because I'm not good with this type of weather. I do have some high hopes for this weekend because I feel like the people who were not able to make it last weekend due to the rain and whatnot, if they had plans for Labor Day weekend, hopefully they can come to this event, considering that it is the last 626 night market. I don't recall any other night markets that will be occurring from now until next summer. We're here! And this is the surrounding area. So there's more booths on that side, and they're all merch booths. Basically, all of the booths here are for merchandise, and then the stage is somewhere over there. Right now there is, I don't know if there's actually a race going on, but they tend to have announcements, at least when it's not during events. Here's the setup for today. Same thing as last weekend. Pins up there, foam grips, stickers. Honestly, I think I'm going to update the rigid boards because a few of them have been falling down, and I think it's because of the adhesive just melting off because of how hot it is. I do have the bags up here, keychains. Again, I have the catalog here for people to reference, and it is taped on just so it's not sliding everywhere. Usually I have the business cards up here, but I don't think people see it. I don't know. Car magnets, lanyards, then more Eda bags. It's 10:12, so this event again ends at midnight. Every 626 Arcadia is pretty much the same. It's from 4 p.m. to midnight every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Honestly, I don't know what's going on. I feel like there's a number of factors. I don't recall ever going to 626 like in August. I think when I have gone, it's usually around July or so. But there's like not a lot of attendees. Like last weekend, this weekend, there's barely anyone. Like right now, I do have family who's helping me, and they did come in later. And typically, from what I remember with 626 is that there's lines. I remember lining up for probably an hour just to get in, and this was when I was an attendee. There's no lines. The food stalls, nearly empty. I also had a friend who came by and she said like there was barely any wait. I remember before even trying to find a bench space to sit down and eat. It's empty. There's like not a lot of people, and I'm just wondering, is there just an oversaturation of night market events? I can't recall if Foodieland was, again, I've been to 626 Night Market since 2017. There's just so many events happening that it's starting to really divide the attendance count. And I'm just surprised at how empty it is. I don't know. I'm hoping that tomorrow is a little bit better, but it's just, I don't know, I'm really surprised. It is day 2 of 626 Night Market here in Arcadia. It is 4:24 p.m. Comparing the numbers, as mentioned yesterday, it wasn't that busy, if ever. I did do a little bit better than last Friday. However, I wouldn't say I expected that, but I would hope that yesterday was better than last weekend just because it didn't rain this time, and there aren't many or as many reasons for a lot of people to not come in on a Friday, or this past Friday versus last Friday where it actually rained. Again, I have low expectations for this weekend just because of how the past couple weekends have been going, that I just don't have high hopes anymore. Maybe I'm a little bit jaded, unfortunately. It is a little bit overcast, which is nice, so it's not entirely direct sunlight. Still very warm and humid. It's probably in like the early to mid 90s. If anything, I just spent most of yesterday catching up with a few pin designs that I wanted to get made. I also did have my updated plushie Eda bag sample come in, as well as my 2 other plushie samples. So that's another thing that I'm working on that I'm hoping to launch on Kickstarter in October. So stay tuned for that. Very excited. Luckily, I did have my table costs covered at this point. I think I just need to cover like some of the food costs, and then I should be good for the next couple days. So what I learned this year is to bring a small fan, and in this case, this is the kind that you would have to plug. I do recommend this type of extension, and I've noticed that for particularly 626 night markets, Arcadia and Pleasanton, you will need an extension cord. Initially I got a 8-foot one, but then I realized it was too short, so I actually invested in a 15-foot extension cord because the outlet is like somewhere over there. And it does help to have one that does have at least 2 or 3 outlet spots, because then one could be for your lights, one could be for a fan, and another one could just be vacant for if you ever need to charge any of your electrical devices. So that helps a lot. And I do like how it's at an angle, because then if you have, let's say, an iPhone charger, you know how wide it is. If it was completely straight on, it would not fit. However, because it is at an angle, it does fit all 3. So it is 7:53, and just a really quick update. I'm trying to sit somewhere because this is gonna be very shaky footage. I feel like it's definitely picked up. Even when my family members came in today, there was a little bit of a line coming in, so I can definitely see that there's a lot more people today, at least compared to last weekend and yesterday, which is a good sign. Also, I feel like I've noticed that this is, again, I still don't have that many transactions. I think most people are looking around first. For sure, I feel as if today and in this event, it's the first time that's not an anime convention where I actually got a lot of bag sales, but I feel like it's mostly people from social media, because a few of them did know about the bear bag being sold out online, so they bought it here, because I am currently only providing it in person, as well as the heart bags. Some of them were from Anime Expo, and they didn't really get a chance to purchase a bag because of how hectic it was, and the line was just super long, so they ended up buying it today. So it's a good sign. I think I have high hopes today. So today was definitely a lot better than the past couple weekends, at least from what I feel. I'm just assuming that because it is the last 626 night market, a lot of people did come this weekend. I was talking to one of my family members, and even she didn't even know that there was 626 last weekend, if not for her following me. So I think there's just a number of factors, and I know there was the Taylor Swift and Beyonce concert. I honestly don't know when they happened. I feel like it was pretty recent, so I feel like most people probably went to those shows. I don't necessarily think they happened at the same time as 626 Night Market, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people bought a lot of merch and already spent a lot on those tickets, so naturally they're not able to just spend right away at 626. So I think it's just those overlap. But overall, so far it's been pretty good. Hello, it is the last day of 626 Night Market, aka day 3, and I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts that I had to make notes on it, and I feel like this is a good video for me to basically review all of the 626 night markets that I've attended so far. Just for context, I did do all 4 626 night market weekends for Arcadia. I did 2 OCs and 1 Pleasanton. This is my second year of doing 626. Last year I only did 3 OC weekends because I wasn't familiar with Pleasanton, and it was difficult for me to get into Arcadia because I signed up late, and basically later than when vendors typically sign up. This past 626, I believe signups went up around November, even though I did mention in past 626 night market videos as to what type of audience would do well at 626. If you're thinking about whether you should vend at this event, here's some things to think about. If you can say yes to most of these, then you should definitely consider vending here. Can you afford it? Now that I think of it, I feel like I've been saying that the vendor fee was $800, but then some people were saying they paid $850, so now I think I have to double check if I paid $850 or $800. But it's around that range, so if you can afford that, good. Another one, if you already have the equipment, remember that this vendor space is only 10 by 10 and they don't provide anything except for electricity and the 10 by 10 space. So you do need to bring your own canopy weights, canopy walls, tables, obviously your display, and so on. Or if you're able to borrow it from someone, that's also very helpful. As of now, there is no opportunity for you to rent out a canopy, unlike Foodie Land per se. Another one is if you're local to any of the 3 626 night market events. Again, the locations are OC, Pleasanton, which is up north, and then Arcadia. So I would say that if you're at least within driving distance, or you have some place to stay where you don't have to pay and basically you don't need to get a hotel or an Airbnb, you should be fine. And another one, you'll have fun regardless if you profit. And I say profit and not necessarily make money per se, because I feel like you really should at least break even at an event, especially when you're spending so much time and effort going to these types of events, especially when it's so hot. You should at least break even, and that's just bare minimum in my opinion. And also because since I am local to Arcadia, I did have family come by over the past couple weekends, so it was a bit more fun. For the rest of the list, if you're not able to do any of these, then I really think that you should reconsider vending at 626 Night Market. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever, because you never know, you might actually enjoy it, but if you can't deal with any of these, then maybe don't do it. So one of them is that you can't deal with the heat, because especially around July to September, it is incredibly warm here in SoCal. It's not uncommon for SoCal to be in the mid to high 90s, and it can get pretty humid, even though usually SoCal summers are very dry. And more often than not, even though there is a canopy, you are in the sun, and basically just being under the canopy, it kind of feels like you're being cooked. So if you can't deal with the heat, maybe don't do this event. And another one is that your products just don't appeal to a general audience. I feel like, yes, mine is more specific in that it is anime centered. At least for this event, it is more Asian focused, which is why I feel like the anime fans that go to 626 Night Market tend to skew towards people who like watching anime or who grew up watching anime but maybe would not go to an anime convention regularly, or maybe their only con is Anime Expo, so to say. So they don't always go to artist alleys. And while I say they don't really go to artist alleys often, I would not recommend this event if your products are very artist alley specific. And what I mean by that is that if you don't have products from popular anime like Naruto, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, or even normie stuff like Studio Ghibli and Pokemon, I don't think you will do as well here as, say, an anime convention. There may be some people who like more niche anime, let's say like Nana or on High School Host Club, even though I know those are still pretty popular. I still don't think that there is a very wide audience for that at 626 Night Market and food events in general. That being said, it is still worth a try. At least for me, this year really was my opportunity to see every single 626 Night Market and figure out which ones work out for me. And going forward with the experience that I have now, I am going to still sign up for 626 next year. I just don't think I'm going to do as many, because I'm fortunate that I'm in a position where I can actually rely on my online sales and kind of slow down on events, because I've built that customer base and community that I don't need to be busting my butt to do events as much. Also because it is really exhausting, and I feel like it does take up a lot of my time in packing orders and creating new designs that now I can just pull down. And as you've known from like the other vlogs, I feel like I really am a little bit more burnt out than in the past, and at the same time I feel like I just really needed to step out of my comfort zone and just figure out what worked for me. And now that I do know, I'm going to try to apply that in the coming year. Now that I had a chance to look at yesterday's numbers, I feel like I was pretty much speaking from emotion, especially when I said that Friday and Saturday were like night and day, and I feel like it definitely was the case. However, it's not in the case of merch sales, because it was busy with the food vendors, and I think that's great. It just didn't translate to the merch side, in my opinion. And I did notice, and I don't think I mentioned this yesterday, or there's another line of merch booths that is on the other side closer to the food vendors, and apparently that section does lose out on a lot of electricity for whatever reason, that they've learned to bring a generator with them just in case 626 electricity doesn't work, which is not a good thing, to the point where for several hours, I don't know if it was the entire night, but ever since I did visit that line, a lot of the booths were completely in the dark because they didn't anticipate that they would need light fixtures that did not require an outlet. If you are in that section, you would have to bring electricity just in case that happens again. And I will say though that that section's not too bad because you are able, like let's say during takedown, you are able to drive in up to your booth, so at least you don't have to carry your stuff a further distance versus where I am, which is closer to the stage, because there is like a cutoff point on where the gate is. You are not allowed to drive through. So basically I have to park a little bit further out and then wheel my stuff in towards the car. So that is something to consider if you're wondering which spot is better. There isn't necessarily a better spot, but I chose the spot because as an attendee in the past, I was not fully aware of the merch over there that were closer to the food booths and was more likely to look around basically where my current location is. When I was looking at my numbers from yesterday, it was pretty much on par to 626 OC 2 weeks ago. So it is better than last weekend. However, it's very, very close to last weekend. So I honestly, I'm not sure why there's just been low sales overall, because that doesn't seem to be the case last year. When I was talking to other vendors, like some of them said that Labor Day weekend was their best. You know, there's a mix of things, and I don't think it's the event itself. It's just maybe there were layoffs, and there's also a bunch of concerts going on. I don't think it directly like affects like, oh, like they had one concert at the same time. It's just that I think that because a lot of people spent their money on concert tickets and concert merch, they just don't have extra discretionary money to spend on merch or food at a night market, which is understandable. I will say that I still did profit. It's just not at the level of profit that I would be satisfied with, considering how much effort and time I've spent vending here. It's like 8 at night right now, and honestly, I mean, it might pick up a little bit later in the day, but at the same time, it is Sunday, and I feel like a lot of people do have work and school tomorrow, so I don't really count on them coming by really late tonight. My expectations are just really low, and it is a little bit disappointing in terms of numbers. However, I'm still gonna do 626 next year, like just know that, because I am local and I enjoy it nonetheless. It's a little disappointing. Of all the pins, surprisingly, the spinning dojo pin actually sold pretty well. I think I brought about 7 of them and there's one left. And obviously the Tochi pin was pretty popular, especially since Jujutsu Kaisen just came out with the most recent few episodes a while ago. So obviously that one sold pretty well. And I think of all of them, those were the main 2. Everything else, it's just a few one-piece pins and then evolutions. So it's much later in the day, so I'm gonna end this vlog here. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who stopped by. I really appreciate when you come by, especially when a lot of people are like, get some rest. Thank you so much. Watch this video if you want to watch my other 626 night market vlogs or all of my other vendor vlogs, and I hope to see you all in the next video.